Today, I'll be building a futuristic space scene in 30 minutes and 3 hours to see how big of a difference time really makes.
How is it going, guys, and welcome to the Olufemi channel. We're a group of teachers that want to shore up your video production skills in as little time as possible.
Yo, it's Herman here on the Olufemi channel, and I'm taking on a challenge inspired by Benny Productions, but in After Effects instead of Photoshop. The challenge is to place myself and my girlfriend's dog into a futuristic space scene inspired by some dope work I've seen from the talented Sebastian Jern and some concept art that I've seen around Pinterest. However, I'll only give myself 30 minutes to do it and then 3 hours to do it to compare the difference. By the way, for this challenge, I've replaced my old laptop and it's given me a great run, but it will now just be a table for the brand new Dell Precision 5760 so that I get buttery smooth playback while I'm editing. But more on this later, so let's get back to the challenge. So without further ado, let's hop over to After Effects and get started. So we have After Effects opened in front of us right now and we have our footage imported. So the first one is my girlfriend's dog in front of this green poster board and this green blanket, and they are not the same shades of green, so it's gonna be a lot of fun trying to key this out and roto this. And here we have myself that I just filmed maybe an hour ago in front of a blue screen. Hopefully it'll all blend together really well in the scene. We have this rock as well that I attached to a fishing line. It's actually not a real rock. It's made out of paper mache, I think, and I have 2 of them. They look very similar, and I'm gonna need to paint out that fishing line along with that tape, I think. And we have the environment shot. This is the scene that I'm gonna be putting myself in. And then the background over here right now is black, but it's going to hopefully be a bit of like a night city, and then we're going to add some atmospheric fog. Hopefully this is enough footage and assets to actually have something presentable by the end of this challenge. I always don't really know what I'm doing, but I think that's the fun in it, right? Pain and uncertainty is plenty of fun. So let us start the clock for half an hour in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I need to key this dog. Actually, I think before I do anything, let's actually bring this environmental shot in like this, and then we're going to see what it's going to be like to track it. What it would have been smarter was to actually add a bit of tracking markers over here, but then I didn't really want to spend time erasing tracking markers, so I'm just hoping that Mocha will do a really good job when I basically pick this little area, even though it is out of focus. Oh my gosh, what have I done to myself? Looks like it's working. This is a good start. And while this is tracking in Mocha, I'm really curious if I can actually make something presentable in 30 minutes, because I don't know what the best order of doing things is. I probably should have planned this out. Usually I would plan things out, but we're going to be using that tracking data so that we can put in our dog and myself. Let's put this in and we're going to see how good the key light actually is, because he wasn't willing to sit on the poster board because it made a lot of noises while he was sitting on it and it scared him, and this is the best I can do. And the best I can do is not looking so good right now. Look at that key. Not beautiful. So we're going to key the blanket instead of the green poster board and see how that does. Okay, that's not good. That's not good. I'm going to just include the blanket, and I think I'm going to just do it by hand, guys. I think I will need to do it by hand. Wait a second, I just realized that I'm under a time pressure. Why am I being so detailed about this? I think I'm gonna need to compromise and just do a pretty sloppy mask over here. Let's include his butt, and we're going to pre-render this. And hopefully it'll be not too long. And look at that render bar. It's looking pretty good. So now we gotta work on me. I don't matter as much as this dog, so we're not gonna spend as much time. All right, let's make it quick. Hopefully it is nice and smooth once I turn this on. Okay, that was actually not bad. That was a one-click key, basically. You know what? I think we have time to pre-render this. I capitalized the A. Why am I fixing it? It really doesn't matter. Okay, this means I'm like more than halfway through the challenge. I haven't really put anything together yet. All I'm doing is keying things. So it's a good distribution of time. Well, we're about to find out. So once I put this in, we're going to need to scale ourselves down and make it seem like the dog is next to me. In terms of like dog ratio, I don't remember how big the dog is in relation to me. Actually, let me parent the dog to me, and then I will be parented to the track, and then I will scale myself down so it seems like I am on top of this thing. Hopefully, if I just scrub through everything. Oh, this is actually not too bad. This is a good start. I say this is a good start when I only have less than 12 minutes left. Now to actually start building the scene. Oh, wait, there are rocks. Oh my god. What am I gonna do about these rocks? I still haven't keyed them. Okay, we're gonna only use 1 rock, okay? I have 2 rocks, but I'm only gonna use 1. We're just gonna use about 8 seconds of it. I'm just gonna do a really quick, rough job, and this is not looking terrible. So I don't think I'm gonna be able to paint that tape out, but I can at least paint like the tip of that wire out. I don't know about you guys, but it's getting a little hot right now because I have 10 minutes. Look at that. That's actually not terrible. Not terrible is what I'm aiming for. We're gonna put in that rock. Oh, wait a second. What do I need these rocks for again? They were gonna be floating, but why does it matter if there's no city in the background. Oh my gosh, I have 9 minutes left. I need to get rid of the background in this environmental scene, and I haven't even started that yet. And I just realized that this shot is reversed. Oh, wait a second. I can't do that because I've already tracked everything. So it's gonna be a pullout. I wanted it to be a push-in, but now it's gonna be a pullout. It's okay. It's okay. We're just going to hide the end of this surface with some fog. Oh, I just slapped it in and it doesn't look that bad. I can't really do anything with this rock now. We're just gonna forget about the rock, guys. What do I track this to? The secret to hiding your jank is adding fog and adding lens flares. It doesn't even look like it's happening in space. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? So the background is really bright. That means the foreground in me should be fairly dark. And there is no drop shadow. I don't have time to make a drop shadow, do I? I only have like 23 seconds left. What can I really do? I didn't even add like the starry night sky. I wonder if I can do that in like 15 seconds. I'm gonna delete it. I don't have time. And that's it. I can't play it back, guys. I want to vomit. I'm just gonna hit Control M. All right, so the render is done. Let's watch it back and see what it turned out to be like. So we look at each other and then we look into the distance and yeah, it's not terrible. It delivers the idea. Like you can see that we're both on this rock sitting there and we're gazing into the cityscape. There's no like fantasy element to it, and it was very far off from what I actually want to accomplish because I didn't add the little rocks that would be floating around, because a lot of the time I think was just cutting out the two subjects and then like putting it into the scene and then just blending the elements together, which is basically what compositing is. Now, before we get into the 3-hour version, now, you may have noticed that I haven't complained about any technical issues in my 30-minute challenge. That's because we're doing something a bit special this time around to make sure that I suffer as little as possible by editing on this bad boy right here, the Precision 5760. It's beautiful. Dell sent me this laptop to edit today's challenge with, and I've been testing it out for the past week just to see how good it is, because new laptops with better specs on paper doesn't always mean that it's great for creators. But guys, this one has basically turned my previous laptop into a giant paperweight. This Precision 5760 is rocking an i7-11850H, which is a beast of a processor that's giving me buttery smooth playback while I'm editing. It's got 32 gigs of RAM, so I can RAM preview efficiently in After Effects instead of clearing my cache every 5 seconds. As for graphics, it has the NVIDIA RTX A2000. This thin laptop has an RTX card in it. All the effects that I use that allow hardware acceleration will thrive on this thing, and I can like cake my footage with 50 effects in After Effects and it'll render just fine. But one of my favorite things about the Precision 5760 is its small form factor. Despite it having a sleek and minimalistic design, it is a workhorse that I've just been bringing to coffee shops to edit on, and that 17-inch Infinity Edge display is so comfy to work on. For this challenge though, I do have it hooked up to an external monitor just so I have the benefits of dual monitors. So far, despite the half-hour version not being quite something I'm very proud of, it's actually been a lot of fun creating it without all the usual technical hiccups. I'm excited to find out what it's going to be like editing the 3-hour version, so all right, with 3 hours on the clock, let's see what we can come up with. I have everything reset, so I've deleted all the pre-renders and all the comps. We're ready to start fresh with a lot more time, so much more time. Let's start the timer in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Before I do anything, I want to make sure that I reverse this because I do like the idea of pushing in as opposed to pulling out. Let's see if I can actually track this as well. I don't know if it's going to turn out okay or not. And the reason I'm tracking this is so that it can be a bit easier for me to actually roto it out. So let's start cutting out that foreground rock. So now we're gonna work on cutting out the background. So I'm gonna pre-compose that. I'm gonna add in a matte. We're just going to basically do it by hand because it's a pretty constant movement. I'm sure I could just bring this into Photoshop, to be honest, and then remove the background. There's so many techniques that you can use to accomplish the same thing. And in this case, I just happen to really like using the most painful method. We can always add something like a refine soft matte. So this is before, this is after, so it really fills in some of those edges to add in a bit more detail, which is really nice. But if I play this back, oh, look at that chatter. Oh, that's not good. Yeah, we'll just delete that. Oh, what's that black over there? Is that my, oh, that's my bad masking. Huh. And the reason I think that the refined soft matte wasn't quite working was because there's so much noise in this footage. I was using a probe lens, so I really had to bump up the ISO. The effect just didn't like that. The one thing that we learned from last time is we need to first cut out the dog's booty. So we're gonna put in the cutout Theo, which is the name of this dog. It's not looking too bad. I'm really happy with this. There's some feathering issue over here, but let's see if the refined soft matte will work once I apply it. Yeah, it's not so good. It gets rid of its nose. Okay, let's not do that. And now it's time to cut myself out. So we're gonna spend a little more time on that. All right, let's get in the booty. I just realized, can I say that? Luckily, my butt does not move a lot, so I don't have to do too much keyframing. While this is pre-rendering, let's review how things are going. So we spent about a little over half an hour cutting myself out, cutting the dog out, and just cutting out the background for the ground plate as well. So I think we're on track for this to actually look decent. Wow, that pre-render was quite fast. Usually it takes a bit longer than that. Is this the power of Dell? We're going to place both the dog and myself into the scene. Put myself in so that I'm about this big, and he's going to be about this small. I'm just gauging by like when I carry him, how big is he usually? If he lays down, okay, he's a little bit bigger than this. So we're just kind of like looking at each other. It's kind of a cute moment. Should I do 2 rocks? I don't feel like I should do 2 rocks. I'm going to spend a little more time on this one rock, and then I'll make variations of it. Like I'll stretch it a little bit and I'll like scale it a little bit. That fishing wire is pretty much gone. What am I going to do about this tape now? I actually haven't thought this far. You know what? I'm gonna roto the tape and then we will figure out what we do with it while I'm rotoing. Okay, so we created a mat, and during that time, while I was rotoing, I have not figured out what I'm gonna do next. Okay, let's quickly think. Gotta summon that one brain cell that's still remaining in my head. Got it. Let's duplicate this. Let's use that as a mat like so, but we're going to basically stretch it vertically like this. So let's see what that looks like. It's a little bit weird, but if you're not paying attention to it and I scale it down, then maybe it's acceptable. VFX is all about whether or not you can catch it. And come on guys, it's just a rock. It's just a rock. It's okay. We don't have to put that much detail into it. No, I don't really use the 3D camera very often, but I'm gonna give it a try. Because there's a slight pushing with the camera over here, this rock should be pushing in as well. Instead of playing with scale, I should actually playing with the position. So it seems like one rock is actually farther than the other and create that sense of parallax, which is what I'm trying to achieve right now. And playing with the scale is not gonna do that. So let's bring this a little bit farther back. And now we have some floating rocks. Nice. Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling a little bit better now because I'm actually putting some stuff together that is building the world, and I can actually see it come to life now. And we'll make sure that we add a bit of depth of field. I know cameras well enough to know what these things do. Let's just think about it for a moment. Let's make the f-stop 1.8. This seems about right. Camera options. Okay, let's play with this. There we go. This is what I'm looking for. There we go. Well, let's slap in our background. I think for this one, I can actually bring it into Photoshop, so I'll probably do that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the background eraser tool. I'm gonna try and cut out this guy. Okay, so I have the city cut out now, and then we're going to also put in the streaky star sky thing going on over here. I'm gonna actually create a solid. We have that little gradient, and because there's a bit of banding going on, we're gonna add a bit of noise. So that's a nice little trick for you. Look at that banding. Look at those lines from that gradient. Boom, add a bit of noise and it looks beautiful again. Now the problem with this is I actually want it to not be so colorful. I think the color scheme that I kind of want to go for is more like a greeny cyan and an orange. So I have those complementary colors. I think I might want to actually not use like the full cutout like this, and I'm only going to use certain portions of it and separate them a little bit. Okay, so this is my city now. So if I play it back, it looks nice and busy. I think I want to, like I said, change it so that the color scheme is more like a bluey yellow. So let's try changing to color. I will change it to something like greenish. All right, so let's put the city into the scene and see what it looks like. Boom. Okay, wait, I need to put that in the back. There we go. I think I need to fill in the left and the right side because right now it just looks like a floating city, which is not exactly what I want. Because it's such a harsh like line that's happening over here, we can add a bit of fog to really like blend it together a little bit. I'll add a little more rocks. All of these, I'm thinking they should all kind of like rise up a little bit. So they will all be keyframes so that they're rising. You know what? Okay, let's make kind of like a wall of rocks. And there's probably a script or a plugin or something like that will help me with the manual work of doing this, but in this case I'm just doing it all by hand. So for each rock wall I'll do maybe like 6 different rocks. I just realized I don't really have to clear the cache very often, which is really nice because the amount of RAM on this makes things a lot snappier, not gonna lie. And we're gonna put this in like this, and then we're gonna turn them all purple, and then we will make them into 3D layers. We're going to work on the city again. Okay, let's go back to the night city over here. We'll put that in and we'll put it on the very back, and this is not too bad. So I have an hour left and it's looking okay so far. I'm still working on this little fog over here. Let's add like another fog on top maybe. And then I'm probably just gonna render this background so it's a little bit less intense on the PC. Please don't take too long. I know I've applied quite a few effects. Okay, 7 minutes, 5 minutes. This is like the best thing to see once you hit the render button. Just in time, I came back from the washroom, grabbed a bit of water, and the render is done. So let's import that in. Okay. So I need to kind of add some fog. I'm gonna try and color match the rocks to the city scene for now. Okay, so when I put me and Theo into the scene, clearly we're not color matched, but we also don't have a drop shadow. We're just looking at each other like we're looking for the answer to how to make a good drop shadow. I think I'm just gonna duplicate myself, do something kind of like that, and then I'll just like power pin it. So the light source is coming from like, you know, both sides kind of. So I'm pretty sure they can just come inward like this maybe. We'll fill it black and then we will add a bit of a fast blur as well. Do something like this, subtract, and then just feather it out. If I spend more time on it, I can get it more accurate, but I think it's good enough. Let's add in the rocks. This rock needs to look kind of like this basically. So in order to do that, let's start playing with the curves. Instead of applying it to one rock, let's add it into here as an adjustment layer and add that in, and let's see what it looks like because it'll affect all the rocks. Okay, it's not bad. It's definitely a little bit on the sharp side. Probably add something that will help not make it as sharp, which is a nice little fast box blur. I feel like the city night is pretty bright in comparison. I think I should use something like Lumetri colors. I'm pretty sure I can just like pull the shadows over to something more greeny like this. Okay, we have half an hour to basically color correct it and make any small adjustments that we may need. I'm gonna try and color match myself so that I look a little more in the scene. This is the color corrected version of me and I look not bad. I'm gonna copy and paste this over to Theo and see what that looks like. I still have 26 minutes for me to kind of refine this a little more. I also think I need to add like not just a fast box blur, but maybe like a camera blur, because the blur should technically kind of like be the same blur as this, right? There's the same focal plane. Both of us are quite saturated, so let's add a desaturation. Not bad if I just look at it from a still image. Let's add a fog, like what I wanted to do before. I should add like a bit of a blur where the fog is, because fog will kind of like dissipate light. This is like a quick and dirty way of doing so. Fog blur. Call it that, and then we will use that as an alpha matte. Wait, no, we'll use this as a luma matte. So we'll turn this on and I'm going to add a fast box blur. Let's do something like 10 and see what that looks like. If I do a before and after, as you can see, it's really subtle. You may not even be able to tell on YouTube quality, but it's actually doing a pretty good job. Another thing I wanted to do was kind of add like a bit of a light wrap in me, just like a smidge, because I'm so far away from everything. It doesn't make sense if the light wrap was like too close, but I gotta hurry up because the timer is ticking. It's before, after. About 6 minutes left. Let's just do a beauty grade. Okay, the final touch is I want to add a lens flare, and the last thing I want to add is this film grade. The lens flare in the beginning makes absolutely no sense. It is totally there just for style. I think one more thing I can maybe add is like a vignette. It's only going to take like a second. Let's not fiddle around too much. And the timer is up. So the 3-hour version has been rendered. Let's watch it together for the very first time and see how it turned out. It's actually not bad. Like, it does look a little bit artificial. I see a little bit of drift happening as well, and that's probably just from the distortion of the lens, and I didn't compensate for that as it's pushing in. The color of the rocks in the distance isn't quite matching the color that it should be. Like, it looks like there should be a little more of like a cyan-y, greeny tint, even though it's like a little bit lighter because I lifted up the shadows. But the blending of the fog in the distance doesn't look too bad, so it doesn't look like this hard edge that falls off and then shows the city. I didn't really plan for this where we're actually like looking at each other. Well, I pretended that the dog was there because we were not in the same frame, but it seems like we both look over around the same time, which is really nice. And then that ear flop, oh, give a thumbs up to this video for that ear flop. Otherwise, the rocks floating up, even though I'm only using one rock, it doesn't really look that repetitive, which is really nice. If I use like different sized rocks, it would be a little bit better. Like, those little small attention to details are what make the difference to like make things really look quality. And in this case, I'm under a time constraint and I'm fairly happy with what I produced under that restriction. It's really like that butt slide, you know? You can see that I start drifting off the rock. But let's compare this to the 30-minute version, which I haven't watched watched in the past like 3 hours, so I don't even remember what I did. I just remember that I wanted to vomit, and I still want to vomit. At least it delivered the idea as kind of like a previs, but this one is so much more polished because I actually had some time to color match, added a bit of a drop shadow. Even though it wasn't like the best drop shadow, it still makes it look like I'm actually there. Now, do I think I would have done better with more time? Absolutely. I think there are small details that I pointed out I would catch now, and then I would go back and make further refinements. I could spend like an entire day or two on this, but under this restriction of trying to deliver something in 3 hours, I am fairly happy with what I accomplished. Let me know if this turned out the way that you expected. There you guys have it, the 30 minutes versus 3 hours After Effects challenge. Thank you, Dell, for giving me the pleasure of editing today's challenge off of this laptop. I feel like I should name it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments what you think I should name my new laptop and what you guys actually thought about the results of today's challenge. It's the third After Effects challenge we've done here on the Olufemi channel, so check out the previous two if you haven't done so already. Speaking of the channel, make sure to subscribe to the Olufemi channel so that you don't miss the next video from the other talented creators here. Hit the bell notification so that you can stay on top of things as well. Now you can also see what I'm personally up to on my YouTube and my Instagram. My handles are right over here and they're also in the description below. Otherwise, my name is Herman and I'll see you guys in the next one.